This is your third of these 10 practices today, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just how do you feel like those have gone, and maybe how are they different than the summer workouts?
Well, I think just from a time perspective, we're obviously allowed to go longer, so I think that's the biggest thing. But I think the pace of practice, the intensity of practice, when we were in our 4 hours, it's pretty intense too. It's just we're able to have longer practices, which sometimes can lead to a little bit sloppier practices as well. I just think you're with your guys for a lot longer time for these 10 practices, and it kind of sets them up for what practices will be like, in October. So I think it's a good, especially for a new team. They probably don't know how intense the expectations are. And so I think they've got to feel the last 3 days, and we have some guys that are really tired for sure right now.
Last time we saw you, it was still early, but you talked about the defense being way ahead. Observations to this point now that we're about 6 weeks out from the last time we saw you in terms of the offense as it caught up?
Just the identity that we've had the last 3 years and the roadmap is, defensively we're probably still further ahead. Todd Lee and I were talking the other day just about, because he had worked with us many years ago and thought that, offensively we spent way more time in practices, and now he thinks it's tilted way more because he's just been away from me for an extended period of time. It was a really interesting observation. And he talked about the attention to detail that we put in at defense and how that is such a high level. Offensively, we just, sharing the basketball. It's the same thing across the board with teams right now, is understanding offensive spacing. And we do have a lot of offensive sets in, and I hope when we get back together, in September, that we'll be able to clean up, because my goal was to try to get our whole play package in, which is a lot of sets, and then eventually be able to clean them up, because we know right now we don't have a lot of players that understand three positions and things that we expect from a versatility standpoint down the road.
Follow-up about the offense. You talked about the size and length advantage above the rim. Maybe this is one of your best above the rim teams, but it looked like Anthony Black and Nick Smith had some really good instincts in transition today, first and secondary. Talk about maybe some things you see from those guys from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think that the backcourt, Kevin, is they're going to want to play out in transition. We're going to want them to play out in transition. Both great court vision, both really willing passers, both have the ability to score. And then with their size, uniquely have the ability to kind of see over the defense, around the defense, and through the defense. So, those two guys, it's no secret, are going to be a really important part to not just our offense, our defense, but maybe most importantly our transition game and our opportunity break or quick strike offense.
Coach, after having Jalen Williams kind of the mainstay in the post for a couple years, it looks like you got plenty of options at your disposal there now. Just curious what your observations are on the options you have at that position so far.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys that kind of offer different things. Jalen Graham is a player that is kind of a go-to guy. He's a scorer innately with his back to the basket and has some crafty spin moves. And Mekhi Mitchell, is really, really explosive and really strong. Mikkel is a bigger, physical player inside, and obviously, Kamani, great offensive rebounder, high free throw attempt player, and then, Brazil is a really, really, really unique player because he's one of our best shooters. He's really good on the perimeter. Probably his position at the next level is as a small forward, and we'll play him primarily at the 4 because we have four centers. But he will play some center probably really early even in this 4-game European tour when we try to play small ball.
And then a quick follow-up. You've had the guys for nearly 2 months now, and obviously you're ramping it up. Is there anyone that stood out to you in particular in terms of the growth they've made from the time they've arrived to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, especially with some of the younger guys, it's, good day, and then, it's just natural. It's younger players in all sports. As freshmen, we have 6 of those guys. So patience is something that I don't have, but am learning. I thought through 5 weeks, Barry Dunning just really played well, did what we were asking. He's improved as a shooter. He's one of the guys that gets in quite often early in the morning. His work ethic's been really good, but he's still a younger player and a developing player. But I think everybody's gotten better. I mean, that's the goal of what we're trying to do. We've been together for I think 8 weeks, and us getting better as a team, and then these guys getting better individually. I think they've all improved in some way, shape, or form.
Coach, along the lines of what Curtis just asked, I think the last time you talked, you mentioned that this team can really block shots at a high level. Was that maybe a point of emphasis this offseason when you went in the portal? If so, why was that?
Yeah, I think some of you guys have written about it or talked about it. But when we played Baylor and we played Duke, I felt that size was a problem. I don't think that. I don't think there's any hiding that, and I think that going into year 4, that the next progression was trying to fill roster management in maybe where we lacked in the prior years. In the first year we had some really, really great shooters, but we had a center at 6'6". Now our point guard's 6'8", and Nick Smith 6'5". So those 2 guys that are going to predominantly play that position, and then Devo, all 3 of those guys can play that position, and Devo's 6'4", and he actually played the power forward for us in year 1 in the NCAA tournament when we played small ball. So, we've tried to continue to tinker with our roster management and try to improve areas that maybe were, and then we were just in a position where, with Jalen, when someone goes into that draft pool, with the way the rules are set up and the timing, you just move on, and you move on with your roster as quick as you possibly can. Because I've been through it with Caleb and Cody Martin and Isaiah and Mason, and we can go on and on. And so, we addressed what we felt was a definite need. The last 2 years was, size up front. But now that, those guys also have to, play the way we like to play, which is being able to pass, dribble, shoot. I mean, we're not all of a sudden just going to throw the ball in the post and be a grinded out team. That's not how we're going to play. So it's really important that that our guys can play dribble handoffs, play off the pinch post, play off the elbow area, much like Jalen did for us, because that was a big part of our offense, was having a center who could draw the opposing centers away from the floor and not just stand at the rim.
Coach, just sticking with the front court, could you just expand maybe a little bit on what the Twins have shown you, maybe where their games have progressed since the beginning of the summer?
Yeah, talent-wise, the Twins, they both offer different things. I think just the this is new for them, the pace of practice and the demand of practice. And they keep growing in that area every day. I think from a growth standpoint on how we practice, how we want our culture to be, they've probably grown the most in a short amount of time. But it's demanding to play here, and so both those guys, like I said, Kel is is really physical and he won't back down from anybody. Kai's really physical too. He's maybe feels a little bit more comfortable on the perimeter. You know, Kel might feel a little more comfortable around the rim. They're both good shot blockers. They both run the floor really hard. And, you know, they're intense guys too. So, I mean, right now, just the way we've done practice, I mean, what you guys just saw was more playing than we've done the entire 8 weeks. I mean, we're really controlled, meaning one trip up the floor, a lot of drills, a lot of station work. Mike Kaywood lectured me to try to entertain you guys with some up and down play, so I tried to do what my boss asked me to do and stay away from the drills and the stations and the 3-on-0 work, and just wanted to keep, you know, Kaywood as happy as possible.
Coach, from a basketball standpoint, just what are you hoping to get out of this Europe trip, and what are kind of the benefits of those tours?
Yeah, I think if we all went and Googled any European tour, whether it's this year or everybody says, culture and getting to know each other, and I think that's all true. But I will share a little quick story with what I did with our team the other day, and I put the graphic up. Kendall Stevens was 0 for Costa Rica. I think he was 0 for 16 from 3. I'll never forget, we were all everybody was dressed. It was right after the game, and the only place we could meet was in a shower. And we were all in there, and I asked Kendall if he was ever going to make a 3-point shot in a Nevada Wolfpack uniform, and he went out and broke Jimmer Fredette's record and was the all-time leading scorer in the history of that conference. So, and I didn't know if he was ever going to make a 3. So I think that this thing is good, but that's never going to leave my mind that it also is just one piece to a long puzzle leading up to November. And then that puzzle continues to evolve once you get, as we've seen our team evolve in January and February. So is a trip important? Absolutely. And it's important for a lot of things. It's important for the families, the wives that sacrifice us being away all the time, for them to feel a part of a long, extended road trip out of the country. Academics gets to go with us, and strength coach and nutritionist, and so there's a lot. We're bringing Kaywood too, so there's a lot of people that are going to be able to be a part of this thing. Clayton Hamilton. So we have a lot. You know, like it's our whole family kind of going on this thing, which is not always how we travel, and so. But yeah, I think when you're in a hotel room and you're eating together, you do get to know each other. But I think we've done plenty of exercises post practice that we kind of do know each other pretty well. But it'll give us some chemistry. It'll give us another body of work going against different people, and we chart everything now so that there's no questions, whether it be a parent, whether it be somebody's inner circle, on how rotations play out in November. We have a whole body of work of statistics. We have film to share with people if need be. And then this is just kind of, like I said, another piece to all of that as well.
You've got all these new faces that we've talked about and big names and things like that. But as far as your returners, Devo and Kamani, what roles do you see them kind of fitting into with all of these new guys?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you guys were in there. We were maybe everybody was, but there was we were doing a defensive drill, and Devo was on the side, kind of coaching everybody from the side, and it was just a shell defense, and I kind of stopped everything and said, do you guys understand why Devo's on the sideline barking out instructions? And, everybody had their own thought and reason. I said, no, it's because he knows what it's like to get to an Elite Eight. That's why he's doing that. And he knows that this is a necessary piece to be a successful team. And some of you other guys don't know that haven't won at a high level. And so I think, that's just one example of how a returning guy can, because the bottom line is right now, like our winning percentage with this group is .000. Like we haven't won anything. We're 0-1, or we're 0-0. How do we become 1-0 every single day that we meet and get together? Like how do we turn that day into a win for us? And some practices have been unbelievably great, and just as any team, sometimes you take a step back too.
Drew,
With so many new faces, so many incoming freshmen, so many transfers, a lot of times, especially early in the summer, you can kind of see cliques kind of forming of transfer guys, only hang out transfer guys, freshmen, only hang out with freshmen. How has the team really intermingled? And also...
Have you seen those cliques on Dixon Street or something?
No,
I haven't seen
I'm just going off past experience of teams I've covered before.
I haven't seen any cliques with these guys, in all honesty. Like when I look back at, not to interrupt, but when I look back at, like Jalen Williams, who was he hanging out with? It was Justin Smith, who was an older guy. And, so the way that I look at this team is when I call one guy at night, unlike maybe some of the other, like there's usually 5 or 6 guys at least hanging out together. And we don't have many independent contractors, I call them, where they're just kind of out on their own. We have a couple guys that prefer maybe to chill a little bit more individually, but for the most part, this group's probably been the most outgoing, the most together at this time of year. I don't know what will happen in January or February, but at this time, it's a group that that likes being together, that likes hanging out. We haven't seen any, like these 3 guys are over here. You would think that our freshmen, the year Moses in here, I think Moses and that group of guys felt really comfortable, those 4 guys. I see Nick hanging out with AB and Jordan and the upperclassmen, and then I know that the question gets asked a lot, about, so many new faces. It's not going to phase us or our system. And I've said it 1,000 times, but when you're used to Jeremy Lin, Steve Novak, and Danny Green getting called up within a week, and you have to readjust your team in a day, this is college athletics. You know what I mean? And it's not just Arkansas. It's not ever going backwards from what we've seen. When this thing passes, from what we've read about of everybody can transfer as much as you want, it's going to change even more. And so, as a coach, as a roster management guy, as a GM, whatever you want to call it, you better be able to adjust on the fly, and you better be able to do it quickly, because that's where this thing is headed. And it's not just here. It's way more NBA free agents moving around, and way more guys going to multiple high schools, and way more guys playing for 100 different AAU teams. And that's where we are as a sports world right now.
Follow up with that, as a guy that's known for his ability to pluck people out of the transfer portal, does that kind of excite you? I mean, that you have a little bit more free range with it because you've done such a great job out of it, or what are your thoughts on the way that that's going?
Yeah, I mean, we have 6 freshmen here this year, and I think that the way you build your team is how do you accumulate as many pieces that fit, that are high-level talent, whether they're freshmen or transfers. We do so many statistical things, and like Todd Lee's broken down every game the last 4 minutes of last year, every possession for the last 4 minutes, and he and I have gone through those, and the rhyme or reason for why we did something, why we didn't, calling a timeout here, not calling a timeout there. And we do the same thing with roster management. And so one year we had 1 freshman, 1 year we had 4 freshmen, now we have 6. I have no idea what the roster will look like. What I do know from doing statistical analysis and a deep dive, there's not a lot of lottery picks that are transfers. I can tell you that right now, because I've studied this thing. There's not a whole lot of transfers in the first round. And the only way you can win in the SEC, it makes it a lot easier if you have lottery picks. If you don't have lottery picks, you got to have draft picks. And that's stone cold fact. And I'm sure if Coach Pittman and I switched chairs right now and he sat here, he probably would say that SEC football, you got to have draft picks. And so you got to have some freshmen too, for sure. I think that's a long-winded answer.
You referenced Moses Moody, who you talked about a work ethic that you feel like you hadn't seen as a freshman. Do you see similarities between him and Nick's work ethic?
Yeah, I think that both those guys are have a lot of similarities. Like a pro mentality of, you got to work, you got to improve your craft, don't be late, put in extra work, be vocal, competitiveness, all those things. Like Moses Moody, he was never late, not for one thing. He wasn't even close to being late for one thing in the full year that he was here. He was early for practice. He got reps up every day. And, we see the same thing with Nick.
Just referenced Sam Pittman last week at SEC Media Days. He was asked, has Arkansas football made it? And he kind of turned it back. He was like, no, Eric's team just went to the Elite Eight. Courtney's team just went to a super regional. How much do you think Arkansas athletics has been heightened since when you got here to where it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted something out the other day, and we talked to recruits about it all the time. I mean, it hasn't really caught on except in our own office, but we call it, the campus of champions. And when we talk to recruits, we talk about the Jones Center, and when you're eating in there and you look over and you see the women's track team, you're talking about, some of the best track athletes in the world, and you look over and you see a football player and 9 wins, and you look over at a baseball player and they're playing in Omaha. I mean, it's just, it's amazing what has transpired just in the short time that I've been here. And some of those programs, like men's and women's track, have won at a high level for probably before I was even born. But then there's others, like what the soccer team's done. Coach Hale's done an incredible job, and what the softball team has done with Courtney. And I mean, it's across the board. I mean, you can feel it, with all the programs.
Coach, it's not a huge sample size to this point, but how would you evaluate this team from a shooting standpoint, given what you've seen in practice so far?
Well, I mean, I'm praying, and so is my wife, that we shoot better than last year. To make an Elite Eight and be in the 300s, shooting the ball from 3, is a testament to how hard our guys played, because we were one of the worst shooting teams in all of college basketball, and the numbers tell you that. So we got to be a lot better, and I think we are. I think that at the small forward position, Jordan Walsh is a guy that is going to be able to make threes, will make threes. Brazil at the 4 spot should be one of the best stretch 4s in the country. We know that Nick can shoot. I think that Anthony's an underrated shooter. So from a shooting perspective, I think Ricky Council has improved as a 3-point shooter, although he's a really good dribble driver, great transition finisher, and a guy that can draw free throws. So I think that, we should be better shooting 3. We'll see what the results look like.
Muss, another big picture question for you. You've been to back-to-back final national top 10 rankings. Putting this roster together and now what you've seen to this point, do you see any reason to think that there might be some more needle movement in the program? Is there potential for going deeper than that? I know it's July, but got to ask it.
Yeah, I would expect nothing less, Kev. I think from our perspective, here's the thing that's really hard, and you hear, like, to make an NCAA tournament's hard. Like, this is the most challenging schedule that we've ever had since I've been here. Like, the Hawaii games, they're going to be really, really challenging. We saw what Oklahoma did to us in Tulsa. They kicked our butt. And you look at, or you think about, going, to Baylor. I mean, we're going to be really challenged, and I think the thing, Kevin, that I can't answer right now is what happens when adversity hits, because it's going to hit. And do freshmen run into a freshman wall? Those are all things that I can't predict. They're things that we can talk about. They're things that we'll try to address before they happen. Hey, if we go on a 2-game losing streak, here is how we are going to overcome that. And I think you always want to try to lay out all the hurdles that your team can run into prior to them happening. It doesn't do any good to react once they happen. It's just like you want to be prepared for every late game situation before you play your first game. I want the team to be prepared mentally what can happen during the course of the season, whether it be an injury, whether it be a guy can't play because of suspension or whatever it may be. How do we react to all those things? How do we react to a loss? What is it like to be around us in practice after a loss? What are the repercussions for how hard practice is going to, all those things I want to talk about and address. And then, do we have great talent? Yes, we do. But this is also the youngest team that I've ever coached by far. Because we've been really fortunate to coach a lot of veteran-laden teams. But having said that, we had a pretty good year with 4 freshmen a few years ago, and 3 of them started. And we only start 5, so we started 3 freshmen in an Elite 8 run. But we have our work cut out for. Our league has gotten better every year that I've been in it.
Eric, you obviously got a lot of experience coaching international ball with the FIBA rules and 24-second shot clock, wider lane. I think you can goaltend, some other stuff I'm probably forgetting. How does that impact your preparation? And and the FIBA ball's different. I mean, what do you think about all that stuff?
I mean, I know all the rules inside and out. Probably, I might know the rules in FIBA better than I do college, believe it or not, because I probably coached just as many games under those rules. I'm not worried about it. Like when, I don't know if Riley did it without asking, somebody did it, like they pulled out the FIBA balls. I mean, I'm not really worried about these 4 games. I'm worried about the 30 games after these 4. And so I wish we were shooting with our balls, meaning college balls, but somehow somebody, again, I'm not sure who it is, and no one will admit who brought the balls out. It might help us over there, but, we're not going to, I mean, I have, the one year I was in the CBA, the NBA asked our league to experiment with the goaltend. By the way, I think it's a great, great rule, but we're not going to work on it. I got 15 different drills that we used to do in the CBA on that, especially off a free throw. It can be affected. That's the easiest way to affect the ball hitting the rim and being able to bat it off or tip dunk it in. But I'm not going to go through any of that stuff just because it's 4 games. And I'm not saying I'm not going to try to win the games.
You're such a scouting nut. I mean that in a good way. I mean, do you even, talk to coaches who maybe have played some of these teams, or do you do any scouting at all? Or
no, we would. Well, our scouting, because we've thought about this, our scouting will be post game. So we'll take the film and we'll just coach the heck out of our guys on the film that we have, but we're not going to worry at all. I'll go into each game, Bob, with the script of a rotation. And then we'll go in with the script of what we want to run offensively, and then we'll have a script of how we're going to play. And then the last, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes of the, maybe at that time we'll adjust. But I don't think we'll make many adjustments, probably until, like I said, towards the later part of each game.
These games obviously don't count in standings, but is it important, especially with so many young guys and newcomers, that you establish winning and confidence and all that stuff? Or?
I think so, but I'd like everybody to get an opportunity. Just because we're traveling over there, and I'm going to try to do that. It's hard with 13 guys, but we'll try to give everybody an opportunity. Some guys. There's some internal things. If you haven't passed your mile, you're not going to start, at least in the first game. And if you've been asked to leave practice over the last 8 weeks because of lack of effort, probably not going to start first game or 2. Hopefully we'll have enough bodies to put 5 out there.
Have you been to Italy and Spain?
I have. I have a really good mom.
Do you remember, like, how old were you the first time you went?
I was in high school.
Okay.
I was a sophomore in high school.
That was just a family vacation?
My mom was trying to educate me.
Okay. I mean, yeah, how much are you looking forward to the non-basketball aspect of it, having some fun and doing some stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the places we're going are going to be really cool places for everybody. So I think, when I've gone on these before, Arizona State, we went to China.
I'm just trying not to get arrested.
We picked the places we're going because we do think that it'll be fun. Costa Rica, our guys loved it, but I think from an education standpoint, these guys are all making fun of me, but I said everybody that goes on the trip should have a role. Everybody should be doing something, and so Jacob Hoops, our academic guy, is going to get up every day and give us some educational piece on where we are. That's his role, where he's going to stand up and give us a little report on. Otherwise, Jacob's not allowed to go on the trip.
Coach, what do you think the potential is?
Let me ask you, what do you guys think of Mike Kaywood telling me that this is the last question? What if I want to stay, Mike? I haven't seen these guys in a long time. I mean,
Coach, what's the potential for elevating the launching pad with these extra practices and this trip with your team chemistry? And you've got California ties. Do you have an opinion or thought on Southern Cal and UCLA moving to the Big Ten and how that may affect college basketball?
can I get fined for what I think? No, Commissioner Sankey can't. I mean, I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist because I am from out there, and this is strictly my own opinion. I mean, I have two thoughts. I mean, you grow up watching the Pac-12. Those are two of the, premier programs athletically out there. But then on the flip side, I sit there and say, well, everything collegiately right now is trending towards how the professional ranks are in a lot of this stuff. So now guys can transfer. Well, I equate that to free agency in pro sports. Name, image, and likeness, similar to what goes on, with athletes that are able to make income. And now I'm looking at this realignment stuff, and if you grow up in California, the Oakland A's are in what? They're in the American League, right? And the San Diego Padres are in what? The National League, and LA Dodgers are in the National League West, and the Angels are in the and so I start to think, and it's like, well, all the California teams or all the teams on the West are not in the National League, and the American League's not just Boston and Detroit and New York. Like it's all thrown together, and it's kind of mixed up, and that's the way college athletics are going. And you think about the NCAA tournament. When my father was coaching, like, you played in your region. That's how it was. The West had their West programs. And now you're from Arkansas and you're going playing in Buffalo, and the next time when you advance, you're playing in San Francisco. And that's just how this thing is going. So one side of me says, hey, I wish it was geographical because I think it makes sense for the student body and the students on campus and boosters and alumni and media. And then on the flip side, I say, hey, it's just another sign of how the world is changing. And now you got colleges playing across country in the same conference. It's kind of wild that for anybody over, I guess 50 years old, but my son thinks it's pretty cool, my younger son.
All right, Coach is going to stay and hang out with you guys just because I haven't seen you.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.